Well, hi everyone, it's Nancy, the nurse practitioner. We're out on a beautiful spring day in New York, and I thought I'd meet up with a good friend of mine that I met on LinkedIn, another good friend on LinkedIn. Her name is Loren Gelberg-Goff. She is a psychotherapist, and she's an author and a speaker, and has her own practice helping caregivers and coping with general problems that all caregivers have if they've been one long enough, I would say. Right, Lauren?
Absolutely.
This is a beautiful book. It's called Take Back Your Life, and we'll go over that in the end. But I love that she has a hummingbird on it, because for those of you who know me, I have my own story about hummingbirds, and that made us both have chills up and down our
Right.
spine. So we're like paisans before we even got started, right, Lauren?
Absolutely. It was great. It's meant to be. There's no such thing as a coincidence.
I totally agree. And every time I'm
So,
with her just for 10 minutes, everybody, and we're just got this like symbiosis, is wonderful,
yeah.
simpatico. So tell us about you, Lauren, and what your journey has been like.
Well, I got involved with caregiving because I think I've been doing it all my life, in truth, even before I became a social worker. You know, I was the one everybody came to with their problems, whether I had experience with them or not. I was the one people went to. And my career started in hospitals, hospices, clinics for multiply handicapped little ones and their parents. So I saw how people operated when they were faced with a long-term, ongoing kind of chronic condition, dealing with terminal illnesses. And I saw people either fall apart or really find their resilience. And then after being married for 10 years, my husband became disabled, and that was part of our journey together. And I had 2 children. We had 2 children to raise. And
how old were they?
My daughter was 10 at the time, and my son was 3.5, 4.
Wow. So you were the breadwinner? You were. What happened to your husband? Can I ask?
It was never formally diagnosed. He had what they call a degenerative neuropathy of unknown etiology. So it kind of captures everything. But his left side was basically wasting. And he was in after surgery, he was in excruciating pain all the time, severe raw nerve pain. And so that was more debilitating than the fact that he couldn't really use his left arm and hand, and he was left-handed. So there were a lot of issues going on with that. And we went on journeys searching for what might help.
Yeah.
And so in doing that, I learned reflexology, I learned hypnotherapy, and I would say to him, you know, yes, you have this disability, but we can't say it's all bad, because good things can come out of these, what we label as negative events. So if we don't label them, we learn from them, we grow from them. And I said to him many times that as a result of his disability, I grew and learned and gained so much in terms of my world and my experience. So I wanted to put that to good use, and sharing what it means to be a caregiver, to really understand the day-to-day struggles that people endure and manage through. And caregivers are amazing at, I can just do this. We put one foot in front of the other. One woman had always used the phrase, I soldier on. The problem is that soldiering on takes a major toll in your life. And we ignore how we feel. We think that what we feel doesn't matter. And so this is about really learning, like they tell you on an airline, in an airplane.
Yeah, put
that
the
if
oxygen
you're
mask on you first,
right,
the person next to you. Yeah, and you know, I just want to say, everyone, we both wrote books for caregivers. Lauren's is more from a psychological point of view, guilt, grief, boundaries, family issues, anger, and you know, interestingly enough, I'm running a support group for caregivers, and I thought the first thing they might need is my tool book, because my book is from the trenches of how to prevent a skin tear or a bed sore, or know what could happen before that, because if you don't, you could get angry and say, I wish I knew more about that.
Right.
Now dad's in the hospital with a stage 4 decubitus, and now it's going to cost a lot of money. He's going to have to go to rehab.
Yeah, right.
I wish I knew more about that, and somebody told me. But then there's the other part is who's taking care of you? I mean,
Right.
parts of this is if you have a big family, it'd be great if everybody got involved and you said, you take care of the finances, I'll take care of dad, you'll clean my house, you'll take care of blah, 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 and we'll all go on vacation together somehow. Something like that.
Yeah.
Fantasy. But somehow somebody's poor, somebody's disabled, somebody is dysfunctional and barely making it on their own, and you might be the only caregiver.
And even
Right.
if you have other people, not everybody wants to participate.
Yeah.
And
So true.
it matters what a family relationship was. If it's a parent, what were all the relationships like with that parent?
Mm-hmm.
What are the sibling relationships like?
Yeah.
How do we communicate? And very often we go, when we're back in with our siblings and our parents, we revert back to those old patterns. We're no longer the adults, maybe even in our 60s or 70s, we suddenly become 16 again. And what were the dynamics there? Older sibling, younger sibling. If you didn't get along early on, you can use this as an opportunity to heal a relationship, but all too often we fall into old patterns, and there isn't that, oh, let's all participate in whatever way we can.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's learning the importance of self-care. If I can't control what you're going to do, and caregivers, by the way, fall into it very often. They're in control, they're managing everything, so there's a good feeling about it. But what happens when you can't control what your siblings are going to do, how your parents are going to respond, how your spouse is going to respond to you taking time to be somewhere else? So there are all these variables, and it all comes down to, I can't control that. What I can control is how I choose to handle all those situations. What will be for the greater good?
Wow. So is this book, just because we don't have a lot of time and people love to hear our YouTube here, which is great. It looks like it's a worksheet kind of book. Can you explain how the book works?
Every chapter, it's not the kind of book you have to read cover to cover.
Okay.
There are different chapters on boundaries, self-care, self-sabotage, handling anger, dealing with communication. And at the end of each chapter, there are questions to help you dive deeper into each issue. So on any given day, it might be, oh my God, I said yes and I didn't mean to.
Yes.
I said I would run and take care of something when I have so many other things to do. So you might want to read the chapter on how to say no with compassion. And that's boundaries. And it's really recognizing that in any given situation, someone might feel hurt, sad, disappointed, angry. It doesn't always have to be you.
Yeah, one everybody always came to. I was the straight A student. I was the achiever. I'm the one who, whatever. So when Dad got really ill, I was the one the hospice was called. I did have one sibling who kind of sabotaged everything. She was in the nursing home, making sure that things weren't happening the way they should. And instead of me having to figure out a way to be more professional, I ended up yelling in the phone. And then my sister gave the phone to the nurse, and I'm going, rah, 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 rah. And then, of course, I looked like the bad guy.
Of course.
So I didn't handle that well, but I was so frustrated and angry. Was it about me and my control, or was I trying to do what was right for Dad and somebody was trying to sabotage it?
It was probably a little bit of all of that. Because again, we have expectations, many of which are not overtly expressed.
Yeah.
We assume that, well, I have power of attorney, I'm the one everybody's coming to, so of course it should go the way I plan.
Right.
But it doesn't, because not everybody is on the same page.
Oh, that was for sure. So you took back, what is your favorite question?
people who know me know the question that we have to ask and answer in any given situation is, what's your desired outcome? And a desired outcome has to fit two requirements. They're mandatory. A desired outcome has to be what you want, not what you don't want. Because think about it, wherever your thoughts go, that's where your energy goes. So if I say, what do you want for dinner? And the first thing you say is, I don't know, I don't want Chinese, I don't want Mexican, all we're focusing on is what we don't want.
Yeah.
What do you want? So that's number one. And number two, it has to be something over which you yourself have control. So people say all the time, well, I just want my husband to say such and such, or I want my siblings to handle things this way. Well, we don't have control over that.
Yeah.
What we have control over is being able to hear what they want and determining what is the desired outcome is for the greater good. If we may all come from totally different perspectives, but we want what's best for mom or dad, or we want what's best for a spouse or for a disabled child. It doesn't always have to be done one way.
Okay, so you also mentioned communication, which I can't stress enough how important that is. But everybody communicates differently. So what would you like to say about that?
So it can be very helpful to get clarity and clarification. So if somebody wants to do something, let's reflect back what it is you hear them say. All too often we get caught up in, you didn't say that. Yes, I did. No, I didn't. Yet, and we go back and forth. It's non-productive. This is what I heard you say. Am I accurate? Did I hear you correctly? And you're giving the other person an opportunity to say, no, that's not what I said. It doesn't matter that that's what you heard. You're taking ownership. Instead of saying you didn't say that, which is only going to create defensiveness, we take that slow, deep breath and go, this is what I heard. Did I hear you correctly? If they say yes, now we can go to the next step, which is, well, I would rather do things this way, or I think this would work better. If we use I statements, we don't get judgmental or critical like that. It's never helpful to say, well, that's a stupid idea.
Right.
Even if you think it.
But you know what else is also important, and I'm learning this by going back and vaccinating patients and being with a bunch of people in hospitals and facilities, is you have to make sure you say how you feel. Like when that happened, this is how I felt. And and if you do that with your family members too, at least they know you have feeling and that you do want some good help and feeling better. And hopefully they'll have enough compassion to give you some.
And they may not.
And they may not.
But it's once, if we take things one step at a time, everybody tends to jump to the next step, the next thing. They want to just get it done.
Yes.
But if we take things one step at a time, truly just, I told you this is how I feel. I'm really upset that this is where things are. I need to make sure the nurses in the hospital are monitoring whatever the physical needs might be. And while we don't have control over whether the nursing care will be what we want or what we think Dad needs, we can communicate that. One step.
One step at a time.
One step.
So in your book, because I know you're teaching us a lot of tools on the fly, if people were to get your book, and first of all, how do they get your book?
The book is available on Amazon. If you want a signed copy, you can get it from my website. I will mail it to you directly.
So everybody, I have a Facebook page. It's Caregiver Success on my Facebook page, and I will put the information for Loren on there. If you have any questions that you may have for her, we could also
I'm just going to get rid of that fly.
Thank you. Oh, here he is. A fly in my eye. Thank you. And this book is so beautiful. I really want to make sure that, the caregivers out there, I know everything takes time to read and do, and it's almost like
It's a short
yeah, it's short.
snippets.
It's not like mine.
Snippets. Well, even for
but mine's
your
a
book,
tool book. It's
right?
really
But they're going to
snippets.
look at what they need.
Right.
It's not the kind of book. Yours is also not the kind of book you're going to sit down and read cover to cover like a novel. What do I need to look at? And we don't know what we need sometimes till it shows up in our face.
Yeah, unfortunately, in my book, and it's so funny, she made markers, and I have a marker as well in my book. But the way I wrote my book was, please read me cover to cover, because you just never know if any of these things are going to happen, and you didn't know what it was till it was too late.
But most people don't anyway, because they don't read it till they need it.
I know, and I guess the point is medical crisis prevention, and there are some simple things that will happen to every single person if they live long enough, and there's like 10 of them in your left hand. If you just know at least those, like urinary tract infections and but I hear you.
But and you're right. Somebody who's going to pick up your book is already in that place of saying, I need something.
Good point.
And it was Rosalind Carter who said every one of us either has been, is, will be, or will need a caregiver.
Absolutely.
And
we are caregivers for ourselves as well. I mean, look at the single people out there, some that have never married and they're getting old in their own places, have a few good friends, but they're really not their caregivers, they're friends. Some of them do become their caregivers.
Absolutely.
It's a very interesting thing. It's important, though, as we all get older, to make sure we do have, if we don't have family, to find people that you can make your family.
And I think I totally agree, and I think that's the beauty of some of the newer independent to assisted living places, because there is a guaranteed community.
Yeah.
And people, and I've had some clients who are on their own, and they're very resistant to that because they think it's giving up their independence. Mm-hmm. And it's not. Mm-hmm. It's a way of enhancing your life because you're not alone. And even during this whole past year with COVID, where places were shut down and people couldn't leave their apartments, even in assisted living, they couldn't leave their apartments, they felt isolated. There were still services being rendered.
True. That's really true.
And when you're on your own, it's good to know that you don't have to be alone. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's really important. Caregivers, there are over 53 million family caregivers in the United States, and every caregiver feels isolated and alone and on their own. And that's part of why I started the Take Back Your Life support group. It's on the phone because people can't always leave to go somewhere. Right. I had spoken with somebody who ran a support group for family members spouses who had a spouse at home with Alzheimer's. And she says, oh yes, I have 72 members in my group. And I was like, wow. She said 2 people came to her last meeting.
Yeah.
So I do this on the phone.
Yeah. Yeah, it's easier when they're tucking mom in bed and maybe and they have their headset on and they're talking while they're doing other things because they're still folding laundry.
Right.
Exactly.
Whatever. Exactly.
So just to kind of get to where we're at this point, this sounds so wonderful, Loren. I'm so glad that we met.
I know.
As a psychotherapist, and this is the part that people really need because it will help them take a breath, like you say, breathe. I mean, I know I don't breathe.
Most people breathe to sustain life. They don't.
That's really. I even hold my breath. Oh, yeah, 10 seconds.
Right.
Breathe.
So
what should be our takeaway for everybody?
So I think a really good one is to remember that there is no option to not provide self-care.
Right.
And it can be simple. You don't need to get a week vacation. It may be very lovely to do that.
Right.
A vacation can be take an extra 2 minutes in the bathroom and just breathe. Mm-hmm. On every page in the book, it says, and we breathe.
Yeah.
If you can take a breath, it will give you pause. It will let you think. It will let you get recentered. Mm-hmm. If you do nothing else after today, then really focus on taking that breath. it will make a huge difference. Focusing on a desired outcome, getting laser focused. I have a step-by-step guide people can get for free. You can go to takebackyourlifeguide.com.
Okay, everybody. So we'll put that up there for you.
Take Back Your Life Guide, G-U-I-D-E, guide.com.
Okay.
And you will get an audio, you will get the transcript, you will get the whole step-by-step guide, which is in the book, but this is a really lovely version of it. It's really,
this is wonderful.
We made it pretty.
So we're going to definitely have that on my YouTube channel, everybody, Caregiver Success. So just to finish off, check out the book. I think everyone could really enjoy this book. It will help you like cope with day-to-day issues and more tools just to, you know, stay alive mentally.
Take care of yourself.
And taking care of yourself.
It's not an option. You know, where they say failure is not an option. Self-care is the only way to really thrive through this process.
So Loren Gelberg-Goff, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Nancy.
On my
this
channel.
Has been great. Yes.
Thank you so much. Everyone, thanks for joining us at Caregiver Success. I'm Nancy, the nurse practitioner. We'll see you at the next video, and I'll have information for you on my facebook.com/caregiver success and some more information here for you. And enjoy this weather. It's so beautiful.
Feel that breeze. Yeah.
Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.